Hey yo, welcome to the QB School post-draft show. First annual. Love it. Fired up. If y'all made it through that thing and you're here hanging out, I appreciate it. Should be fun. As always, check in. Let me know. Hit me with your favorite emoji that this thing sounds good. I'm always a little nervous. But my goodness, some moving parts all over the place. I always love the who won the draft, the winners. You know, obviously some Dolphins fans in the house for sure. But the my go-to winner right out the gate is Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, my goodness, that's that Arizona living. You pay income taxes in Arizona? I don't even know, but that's a pad, man. That's that bachelor life. I'm assuming he's still a bachelor. I don't know if I've told a whole lot of Cliff Kingsbury stories on this channel, but we were together for a little while in New Orleans. So good dude, man. That was something. Wow, all sorts of fun stuff. That was fun for me. I honestly can't remember the last time, if ever, I've watched a full round almost all the way through. I took a little teen break to take a break, but that was pretty sweet on a number of different levels. You know, I think it's one of those things where it's a little recency bias. Obviously, the Jordan Love thing to Green Bay. We'll talk about, you know, the no surprise up front with Joe Burrow. We're obviously going to be quarterback centric here, but for y'all who I'm fascinated, so let me know in the chat and do me a favor and smash the like thing if that's something that you're into for this thing as well. But I'm interested, when you all are watching this draft, are you watching on multiple screens? Because for me, I muted I had it on ESPN. I don't even know if it was on other channels, but I had it on ESPN. But I was listening to PFF's kind of like live Twitter stream. I'm not sure if it was everywhere, but I was listening to it on Twitter, and it was outstanding. I'm not a like PFF subscriber or anything, but those guys, what they value, how they grade and talk about players is so aligned with what my kind of overarching kind of macro perspective. They obviously go way more into the weeds and have access to a lot more data than I ever had. But I mean, I can't I couldn't handle the ESPN thing. See if I can turn it up if you can't hear it. Cheers as well. But man, I enjoyed it. It was fun seeing all sorts of movement. Obviously, you know, before we get too deep into this thing, let's talk a little Green Bay. It's crazy how cyclical this thing is. You know, I think it probably came out today, put out a draft video about being on the Packers when they drafted Aaron, and how kind of a surreal day that was for me, just because you don't expect, you know, to pick a quarterback when you have a future Hall of Famer who's still got a bunch of years left. Not a bunch of years, but a handful of years. And can only imagine what Aaron is feeling and what those other guys in the room are feeling. And it's just, you know, obviously it worked out really well for the Packers and Aaron Rodgers the first time that they took someone in this situation. And now, obviously, different group of decision makers. But you know, you start looking at value and you start looking at, you know, projections moving forward, and, you know, are there things that the public doesn't know? All those things go into account for me. But, you know, I could only imagine being Aaron Rodgers and just being absolutely straight up fuming at that pick. I mean, just the handful of guys, there's so many weapons available still at that point that could help you, you know, immediately and alleviate all sorts of issues on the perimeter. Not alleviate, but help you on the perimeter. To go draft someone who is a second team All Mountain West to play your position is just, I don't know. I really don't understand it. And so that's probably why I'm live streaming and they're making NFL decisions. But I mean, it's one of those things that it's just, even when it happens, it's kind of happening in slow-mo. I have nothing to do with it. Like, I still nothing to do with either team, but it's still hard to process. You know, it's just as a person, like the empathy you feel for the other quarterbacks and the other people, but then you're excited for Jordan Love to go in the first round and go to a great franchise. But man, I don't know. Crazy. Really crazy. Then obviously go a little bit further up in the draft. I was excited for Tua to go where he went. Ironically, Miami tanking for Tua got it done regardless, even if it was the 5th pick, and even if it had, everybody fell in love with Herbert for, any number of different reasons, or they played the card like they did. And I think Tua, obviously, I'm a fan of Tua and think he's got a bright future, but it's, what's going on in the NFC East as far as the Patriots, as far as the opportunity, how Miami's building that thing, what it looks like moving forward. I will say, and this is just my personal opinion, not personal, I've heard it from other people also, so I won't throw other people under the bus, but I won't say that I invented this opinion. But I will say that I've never seen a quarterback play with Ryan Fitzpatrick and be successful. And what I mean by that is, sometimes you see guys who are mentor types or provide a boost or a trampoline for the quarterback who's playing or the quarterback who's a project. That's just not that to me, anecdotally, and kind of, hearing about it from whispers from other quarterbacks has never been something that's his strength. So it'll be fascinating to see if that changes, because there's no reason why it couldn't. But the track record is what it is. Yeah, Von Allen in the house. Appreciate it. Dang, you just did. You probably went the whole draft live. I love it, man. What is going on in Green Bay? I tell you what, it's I mentioned it earlier, but it's just the cyclical nature of this, that Aaron's going to be on the full side of what this kind of circle in Green Bay looks like, as far as being the guy who's drafted with a Hall of Famer who doesn't want him on the roster, who's a prickly guy who's not going to be his mentor, to basically making him retire, to then having to play against him, to then have his replacement be a Hall of Famer. I mean, there's just so many, the synchronicity is like, it's almost mind-boggling for me. And so honestly, I can't imagine, what he's feeling, what he's doing. I don't know how many years left he has on his contract, but I bet he's looking around the league right now. I mean, there's no way around it. You're on a clock, whether it's 2 years, max 3 years. You just don't draft people in the first round that don't play. They might not be good, they might not last, but I can't remember. You all let me know if you can think of a first-round quarterback who didn't play for that franchise. I'm sure there's examples, and maybe they trade him, or maybe, any number of things happen. But for me, if you draft someone in the first round, they're the future, and the future is coming really fast. And, nowadays it happens even faster with these quarterbacks who come in more developed, more polished, more mature. Now, is Jordan Love that quarterback? His film, I would argue, says no. But obviously a lot of people thought that he had a lot of talent. And I was one of those people. There are flashes of greatness. I think I had him ranked 4. I think he came off the board at 4. Now, my draft wasn't quite the same as a real order of getting drafted, but there are definitely flashes of special. But I mean, I still don't. I just don't get it. And that's the thing. When you're a quarterback, especially that type of caliber, I can only imagine. But everything is to help us win. And so to help us win is to get my replacement. It just doesn't, that's not a recipe for a healthy organization, in my opinion. Now, it might work out just like it worked out with Aaron, but I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. And then the last one, the Chargers, just, it's hard to like the Chargers. I'm in San Diego. Everybody down here has got is a little prickly about the Spanoses, and just seeing them, what I think extremely overreach for Herbert, is just tough. But there was a lot of other exciting things in there. You all let me know what besides for the love thing, obviously the love thing, what were some other elements that you all, if anything, surprised you? Oh man, we got 192 in the house. This is by far the most we've ever had. That's funny. The best QB left, Spellman. Oh, I appreciate the members showing up. I love a good Eli joke. Oh man, that's a strong emoji one too. The best quarterback left for me is Jake Fromm. Now, the one that I think will probably come off the board first, I actually have Jake Fromm and Nate Stanley pretty close together. To my mind, I don't. If I was drafting, I don't know. It would be tight. I would probably lean towards Fromm, but I would be just as happy with Nate Stanley. I think Jalen Hurts is probably the most interesting pick. The next one for the quarterback, depending on what organization he goes to, I think could be a guy who could be fun to watch and have an opportunity to have a high ceiling, with the idea that he's going to grow and become a better passer. But my goodness, just it's so crazy. It was such a fun night. It's one of those things, really, honestly. It's a bizarre thing for me because I honestly don't watch the draft on like an annual basis, but you're just so starving for any sort of new content. And like watching that dude Roger Goodell like fake interact with the fans. I just like the guy's so awkward. It's hard not to chuckle at it. Like I just like it's like everything that's wrong, like just like an awkward old white guy just trying to be cool. James, appreciate it. Love it. Thank you for the membership. Big time. Very cool. But man, the other part with the fans, like that wouldn't come back. So there'd be like, what were there, like 15 little squares? And then like, if, they were all there early, except for the Charger fans. But like if your team traded and all of a sudden you had to come back in and like, there'd be like inevitably like two squares, like crazy booing. The other ones were like fake cheering. And so it was, I don't know, pretty, at least I appreciated the effort. The booing thing was, it's hard to manufacture that kind of hate for that kind of dude. All right, James, coming in hot right with the Vikings. I appreciate it. Michael, Goodell is the absolute, from a player's perspective, now I get it. I'm sure he's very good at his job, which his job for me is representing the owners. And in any employment labor situation, you're on the opposite ends of the spectrum. But man, he is a perfect dumpster fire for a lot of players on a number of different levels. I love Marcus. That's a good question. Where will Stanley go? I love Stanley to New England. I know it was a joke on PFF's thing, but I honestly do. I think he's got a great opportunity to thrive, and he's exactly that type. What I think Bill kind of thinks about when he thinks of a quarterback: big, strong, tall, polished, smart, all those type of things. I'm telling you what, I still can't get past. Aaron Rodgers is so pissed right now. I mean, he is. I can't even imagine the type of scotch that he poured himself. I almost went with a scotch just in honor of the scotch that I know Aaron is drinking right now, but I just don't get it, man. It's hard to just kind of comprehend. It really is. It's one of those things where it's weird because you are excited, and it is weird for me. I don't know. I know that people. The last thing I honestly turned it off when ESPN was like, I think Trey Wingo. Somebody said I turned it back on, and he's like, I've really enjoyed the sneak peek into everyone's house. And I was like, besides for Cliff Kingsbury, like it was weird. Like I thought it was creepy, like almost like a voyeuristic, like uncomfortable. Now I know this is my house, so it feels, and it might feel that way to you. It doesn't feel that way to me. For me, it's nice to come in and just, walk over here and take care of this stuff. But seeing into people's houses, like with the wide shot and like the wife coming in or the kids coming in, like it was just, I don't know. I'm sure people liked it, or I'm sure some people liked it, but for me, it was bizarre just to see people's like setup, and like it was sloppy and like wires everywhere, and you just like, I don't know. It was but Cliff killed it. Oh my goodness, that was crazy. Oh my goodness, we got 250 up here, almost 250. You guys are gonna make me stay up all night. How about the Vrabel thing? Was hilarious. Now, first of all, does anybody know, are those Vrabel's kids? I mean, those kids look pretty old. The guy dressed in the spandex, but him like dumping out the dip, in the cup, like at the absolute wrong time. Like, what did he think? Like, when he saw himself on TV, he thought, oh, I got a couple seconds. Let me dump this wad out. It was just so Vrabel. It was so perfect on so many different ways. Just like the ultimate, like, macho, tough guy. Just classic. Like, I'm back in a offensive lineman meeting or something. Oh, what a bad habit that is. If you guys are out there, I can't handle it. What were some of the other weird setups? There were weird setups, I thought. Mike Zimmer, man, like in the travel lodge, like with the, I don't know. It was bizarre on many levels. I'm looking forward. I personally enjoy the draft interaction and like people booing and all those things, and so it was tough. I didn't even see the guy. No, was there really a guy in the background on a toilet in Vrabel shot? That's funny. Yeah, I mean, so many good things. Like, where do you even go from this? I feel like I'm like overwhelmed with content. There were actually a lot of like really fascinating picks too, like a bunch of wide receivers that I thought were going to be, go in a certain order that didn't go, and that they're all really explosive, and so many teams got better. I mean, that's the crazy thing about it. Micah, appreciate it. 703. Thanks. Let me see here. Why'd the Saints go center again after going center early last year and not pick an inside linebacker, cornerback, wide receiver? Also, what do you think of Jerry Jones on his shot? Right? I forgot about Jerry Jones. The Saints thing for me, I don't necessarily place guys as like center, guard, tackle. I think of guys as like interior or perimeter guy, edge guys. And so whatever, you play center, you play guard. Drew Brees, I think it's always going to be a priority. Offensive line, I don't, it's one of those things that's not flashy, per se by any means, but I don't think they drafted a center last year and a center this year. I think they drafted interior linemen, and, you're never going to be wrong, in my opinion, building your franchise from the inside out, whether that's offensive line, defensive line. You look almost at like what the 49ers did to a certain extent. All those things are like, defensive line is their priority. That's what they're going to be. That is what they are, and they stayed true to their identity. So, that's what I think of that. The yacht from Jerry Jones. It's classic. Oh my God. I mean, and then he had like didn't he have like his awkward, like, I don't know who the people were on the side, but they were like awkwardly spaced away from him, but like not far enough away that they were out of the shot. So it just looked uncomfortable. It was, oh, Brad Love coming in. Broadlove. Is it Broadlove? Broadlove coming in. What do you think about the Jordan Love pick? I mean, again, the Jordan Love pick for me is just, it's less about Jordan Love, because I do think Jordan Love has some flashes that I don't necessarily think of him as a first round guaranteed draft pick. That's just not how I value a second team all Mountain West type of, performance. But I think of it as from, and maybe this is just my own bias, like I can't get out of my own lens, but like I always think of it as, what's it like from the players who are already on the team? Like I haven't been a coach long enough, or I was never a personnel guy or a scout guy or an analyst type guy to think like impact. I'm thinking like from the guys on the team, what's that look like? To me, the guys on the team, that looks like, like either two middle fingers, like we're rebuilding this thing, or like, we're good to go. Like, I just don't like, if you watch that Green Bay team last year, especially against the 49ers in the playoffs, like they have some huge deficiencies. They could have gone any number of different ways to help that team. And to get Aaron Rodgers back up, for me, I mean, you all tell me if I'm off my rocker, but like if Aaron Rodgers wanted, he could play another 2-3 years pretty easily. Like, I don't think he's like, Phillip Rivers at the end, or Tom at the end. And even Tom Brady's going to play like another 3 years. Like, I just don't understand I guess I don't understand the rational thinking of the pick. Now, if he comes in there and he's a future Hall of Famer, then obviously it worked out again, and every team should be doing that. But again, I was on the team that drafted Aaron Rodgers, and I know people were pissed. And I know Brett was pissed about, not getting someone who can help him, and it worked out. So I mean, it's just impossible in this reactionary type mode to say like it's a great hit, but I can't empathize with the guys on the team, and especially the quarterbacks, and be like, what the hell just happened, and why? and then you got to have awkward conversations. Now it's going to be awkward with the coaches. You thought it was awkward last year when they might not let Aaron audible, and they play it off like they're besties. Well, now they're not besties. Let me tell you straight up, they're not. They're not. And so everything has changed. The relationships in the building have changed. The future's changed. The timeline's changed. Everything's changed with one pick. So hope it works out. I appreciate you all checking in. This is by far the record for us. Getting close to 300, 270 in the house. Again, lots of fun for me. Who's yelling at me? Lots of fun for me just to be able to sit here and see it, knowing that I was going to come on and have to talk quarterback-wise. Again, to me, I think when we look back at this draft, I think, we'll look back and feel bad for Burrow having to go to Cincinnati. I think that's going to be a tough haul, and it's unfortunate, in my opinion, to get, drafted there to start. I think Miami's got an opportunity. I hope Tua stays healthy. I think Tua's got an opportunity to be really good in this league for a really long time. I'll be, fascinated to see if Herbert turns into a franchise quarterback. And then obviously, Green Bay went from having, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, or at least recently, to now having like a quarterback, issue. And they did it to themselves. And so, we saw how it worked out last time. The problem is that there was this, even when you do it, even if it works out great, you still have this like awkward 5-year gap. Like you just created a tension for 5 years, because even if Aaron gets pushed out of the building, he still has to have Jordan Love come in and play really, really well. Like that's the thing that Aaron did that no one else did. Aaron came in and was balling out. I mean, he was balling. People knew he was going to be really good just in practice and when he came in into when Brett went out for a little bit in games. Well, I'm not sure that Jordan Love, that it's pretty rare. Like it's not a foregone conclusion. Now maybe they know something that nobody else does, and the other 20 whatever teams in front of them didn't know either. But I mean, the tension that's going to create is just going to be mind blowing and so unnecessary. Like if Aaron wanted to retire in 3 years, what's the difference between a pick 24 this year and pick 24 then, or going to get someone then? I just don't understand the logic for it. And Rodgers to the Patriots, that's funny. Yeah, so just a heads up for everybody who's watching. Next week, I'm going to do a Burrow video for basically 2018, before he became like Burrow the magical against Alabama. Then I'm probably going to jump right into Trevor Lawrence, maybe even a little Justin Fields, and have fun with that stuff. Just because the draft stuff is fun. I enjoy it, and it's fun to kind of watch those full games. Hopefully y'all enjoy it too. I haven't watched enough Trevor Lawrence to know that. I do know that he played unbelievably his freshman year, but I haven't watched like the all 22. I also know there's a guy. What's the guy's name at UNC? I think he might be a true freshman though. Either way, I know there's a handful of guys coming up the pipeline that are going to be pretty good, but it really was like, I'm not sure if I was just starving for content or everyone was starving for content, but it was so much fun to be able to see, just any sort of like real authentic sports. And it wasn't even real sports, but it was still fun to see. It's one of those, it's crazy because it really does, those people who get drafted change their life immediately. And you can see it, even if it's in like a muted environment with the family and like the awkward couches, and like you could just see the different socioeconomic like impacts of what this is going to be for so many of these people. And so it was cool to see the players and the families, but I don't know, I still didn't like being in other people's houses. Micah, how do you think Burrow feels about going to Cincy? I think Burrow is just on a high on life. I mean, obviously he's had the best year that anyone could possibly imagine. I think it was a little telling just when I heard him do a kind of pre-draft interview, or maybe it was right after he got picked, about just kind of the year he's been on, about being, someone who was projected to be a 6th-round pick last year. And I thought he had this great thing where he said, yeah, I just didn't play very well. Which is crazy to me, because I was coming out my junior year, I was projected to be like a mid-tier draft pick. And I thought I played pretty damn well to get that draft pick, to then go from that to being the #1 pick, you know, it was quite a ride to win the Heisman, have the best season any football player, any college football player probably ever had, to this, to now the first pick, to now it'll hit him for real in about November after about a 10-game kind of tough patch that he's in Cincinnati for the foreseeable future, surrounded by a franchise that you know might not always do everything they possibly can to win, and that's hard to set in when you're young. He's not that young, but when you haven't been in it long enough to know that it gets dirty. Clearly, appreciate it. Pro Bowl, thanks for being a member. I appreciate it. Again, very cool for you all checking in. This at least doubles the normal Monday live stream. So I appreciate y'all hanging out. Very cool. Again, I really appreciate the members hanging out, checking in. I haven't gotten a chance to. Let me make sure I get over here and hit this handful of times. Yeah, and then the other one, I know people keep hitting me in the chat about Cam Newton. I mean, you know, there's a handful of guys out there that are still looking for work, and so, you know, I think that there's still a number of jobs that look like they have some opportunity. Andy Dalton, you know, hopefully he doesn't end up in New England, but you know, there's still a bunch of guys who have a lot of what I would consider a lot to offer at the quarterback position. Now they might not be, you know, trending up, obviously, but there's no reason why they can't bounce back. The wide receiver thing for me with this draft class was just crazy, and it's so interesting to me to see what's valued, whether it's top end speed, whether it's, you know, yards after the catch, whether it's strengths, whether it's, you know, projecting, you know, value moving forward. It's crazy to me, but I can tell you, and this is my like anecdotal experience. When I got drafted in New Orleans, we drafted Dante Stallworth and I want to say LaCharles Bentley, both in the first round. Maybe LaCharles was like an early second round pick, but those were our two top guys. And Dante Stallworth was like the pick number 10. And I knew Dante from growing up in Sacramento. We grew up in the same area. Now, Dante Stallworth was really good in high school. I think he went to, I forget where he went originally, but he ended up at Tennessee. And he could flat out burn. And so I remember going to mini camp, like rookie mini camp, and Dante was out there running like a slant. And it was literally like, for me, it was like throwing a, it was literally like throwing a straight up, like to someone with a rocket on their back, like a jet booster. It was that much faster. And I had wide receivers that got drafted and played in the NFL. Now, they weren't that twitchy, but like, I forget what Dante ran. Someone probably look it up and let me know. He either ran like I want to say like a 4.2, 4.3. Like, he was that fast. And so I get why speed is that crazy. He was so fast, I almost feel like he always used to like blow his hammy out. He was so fast. It was just like, your body can't handle that type of explosiveness. But like, there is a difference. To me, you know, it's always like it gets poo-pooed, like, oh, he's a 4.5 guy, or he's a 4.4 guy, he's a 4.3. There's not really a difference, in my opinion, from like the mid-tier. Like, if you're a wide receiver and you're 4.4, you're 4.5, you know, obviously you probably can't get into the 6 range, but like that world, they're all the same. Like, I mean, you know, you can be a guy who just separates. But when you're into like the 4.2 world, that's like, it's eye-opening. It's jarring how much faster he is. And I remember we hit him on a couple slants early in his rookie year, and it looked like he was on the like old school, like when I used to play video games, like turbo button. Like, it was like do-do-do-do, and you're like, you know, like it, and it was happening. That was happening on an NFL field. That wasn't like at intramurals, you know, between the dorm rooms. That was crazy. And so I'm never shocked that those type of things happen with speed, overvaluing speed, but it's still hard for me to kind of totally get, you know, why some guys I think might be more polished, project better long term in the league, but still get kind of overpassed because they have some sort of like deficiency and their 3-cone isn't quite as good. We got about one more sip here. I'm about to shut this thing down. I feel bad getting off with this many people, but I appreciate you all hanging out. Which team won the first round? Brock coming in hot and hard. I need more emojis from you, though, to be able to recognize you faster. I don't know. What's the consensus? I mean, honestly, I'm such a, homer when it comes to Tua. But what was the Dolphins' last pick? I can't even pronounce it. The corner from Auburn. I mean, I don't know. Is there a consensus? I mean, I probably would go with Miami. I really would. I know that's probably not going to age well. But I mean, I think that there are a bunch of, the other thing about it is like if someone, if Chase Young becomes, a Hall of Famer, the Redskins won it. If any of these guys hit, that's the thing about it, right? It's always a draft. I always think, and this is probably going to be a not sexy thing to say with this crew, but who won? To me, it's almost, this is going to sound bad. I know it. Maybe Von Allen's still in the house. The Patriots, like, they always just Patriot the draft, right? They just move back. They keep accumulating value. And maybe it's because I keep thinking of like, I listen to the PFF guys, but like, there's just, what's the difference between like pick 24 and pick 34? Nothing. Like, trade back, get more value. There he is. Appreciate it. Yeah, Von Allen. Man, the whole draft. That is rough. Y'all got to get out there and check out his channel. I appreciate the support. But like, I'm always impressed with the teams that have a strategy and understand that this thing is so much luck and we want as much value as possible. So if we can trade back to get more picks and get more opportunity to hit, then let's do that. That's really what I want to do. I don't necessarily want to do, take a shot on the 5th best corner or the 7th best wide receiver. Like, what's the difference between the 7th best and the 9th best? Nothing. I appreciate it. Von Allen in the house, man. One of the original supporters. Good dude. Appreciate it. I don't think, Nick, I don't think anything's wrong with Andy Dalton ending up in New England. I just would rather see Cam there. I would rather see, Nate Stanley there. I would rather see Anthony Gordon there. I just, maybe that's my own bias with being tainted from Cincinnati. I'm tainted from Cincinnati. I didn't play as much as Andy Dalton, obviously, but, I just think that, and I also don't think Andy Dalton fits what I think Bill normally looks for in a quarterback. What I mean by that is a bigger, stronger arm type guy. And so maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Brock coming in strong with the emojis. I appreciate it. All right, well, hopefully you all had a good night. This is my Guinness to finish this thing off. I actually would love Hurts. That's a great call, Sergio. I would love Hurts to New England. I think it would be fascinating, and I think it would like reinvigorate what they do offensively. Give a different identity as a franchise. That's a cool one. Travis, you got to come earlier for the Jordan Love take. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all hanging out. I'm going to sleep. Y'all stay safe. Wash your hands. Oh, so it don't falls off. Sanitize. Look after one another. Maybe we'll do this thing again tomorrow if y'all want to enough. If you do want to, let me know. Hit me on Twitter or hit me in the comments for this thing, and maybe we'll do it again tomorrow. Again, I appreciate the support. Very cool. I think we got over 300 tonight. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Get nuts, membership, get crazy, Patreon. I appreciate it. Y'all have a wonderful night. Thanks so much. Hopefully you enjoyed the draft, and we'll see you again soon.